Okay, thank
Mommy,
you
you
so
can
much.
record though. You are the host.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Welcome, welcome everyone. I can see introductions already. Mrs. Toyin Quadri from Lagos, Dr. Catherine Ege. That's my head girl. I'm so honored to have you here, Dr. Ege. Thank you for being here. Dr. Yebimpe from Lagos, Dr. Laleye, one of our LCI associates. So great to have you tonight. And we'll be continuing with the introductions later on, but now we're going to head right into our discussion for tonight. And I want to say thank you for joining us. This is Lifestyle Champions International, where we raise like-minded people who are passionate about making healthy lifestyle choices every day. So it's so wonderful that we have like-minded people coming together from time to time to have these, discussions. I'll call them healthy discussions on how we can improve our health-related quality of life. It's interesting to note that eating is something that all of us do every day. And I'm sure there is no one here who can say that they have not eaten today. Is there? I'm sure all of us have taken something. So it's part of our everyday living, it's part of entertainment. That's what really makes life interesting. Food. So today we're going to be having another LCI panel, like we love to call it, where we have someone share their own life experience, based on, the journey that they have made. So sometimes we do have what we call a BYC panel, or just a question and answer session in which someone shares out of their expertise or experience, to encourage the rest of us and to motivate us to keep on making healthy choices. So thank you for being with us today. Um, so in the house tonight, we have Mrs. Orekolade. Hi, sis.
Hello, hi sis.
Thanks for joining us tonight, even though she's part of us, we're together in LCI and we started this up together was it last year? Yes. And Lifestyle Champions International has come a long way. And by the grace of God, we've been impacting lives and encouraging people to stay healthy. And thank you for joining us today. Today, we're going to be discussing ways to enjoy healthy eating. We've had a lot of discussion about healthy eating. I remember last year, Mrs. Ronke Adegoke, one of our trustee members, she also expanded on, healthy eating. We talked about, different types of food and how we can make them healthy. But I noticed that when you start talking about healthy eating, most times people begin to think that, oh, Dr. Ray has come again. This maybe it's going to taste like grass or seaweed, or gravel. People seem to think that healthy eating is boring. We got to get the sugar in there, the oil, the fat, and everything else that makes it taste so appealing. So I know that you, for one, or you've had quite a journey when it comes to lifestyle. And may I kindly just ask that we mute ourselves? I think some people are um, unmuted, and I'm getting your background noise. So kindly mute yourself. Okay, thank you. So I know that you've had quite a bit of a journey when it comes to lifestyle. And so I'm just wondering what exactly, has made it interesting for you. Do you think that when you made those choices to ensure that you improve, your eating habits, do you think everything became boring all of a sudden? Or you think that you were able to cope well and you enjoyed making those changes?
Okay, thanks, Ori, and thanks everyone for joining us here this evening at the last LCI panel of the year. It's so good to be here, and it's also to see so many familiar faces, friends, family. So thanks for joining us this evening. So yes, I've been on a journey, and I'm still on a journey. My journey hasn't ended. And like I mentioned, when we had the very first, I think I was also on the hot seat for the very first panel we did. I'm a self-confessed foodie. I like food. You know, I enjoy trying different kinds of food. You know, when the time comes to go to a restaurant, I'm very happy because I know that, you know, I just like trying, you know, new and different things. And so when the issue of, you know, trying to lose weight came, it was, you know, it was going to be tough. I knew it was going to be tough because I love food. And the challenge was, okay, first of all, I wanted to reduce sugar in my diet. And I love sweet things. So I was like, okay, this is going to be really, really, really tough. How will I manage this? But I have to tell you, food doesn't have to be boring. You know, food doesn't have to be, I say healthy food. Healthy food doesn't have to be boring. Healthy food doesn't have to be bland. Healthy food doesn't have to be unappetizing. You know, healthy food can be, you know, appetizing, delicious. You know, you just have to, you know, think, you know, creatively sometimes, you know, about how to go about it. So, and I can give some few examples, practical examples of, you know, how it worked for me. So in trying to eliminate, well, not eliminate completely, but at least reduce, you know, sugar from my diet, you know, I was looking at, for instance, for breakfast, what can I do to make my breakfast a bit more interesting, you know, ditch all those sugary cereals, you know. I used to love crunchy nuts. I don't know how many of us here know crunchy nuts, you know, even the adverts on the UK TV here. Once you start taking that crunchy nut like this here, it's like you can't stop. You just keep on pouring more into your cereal bowl. And I knew that this was not good for me. So I was like, okay, so how can I, you know, make my breakfast more interesting? And oats, Quaker oats. Now, I don't know how many of us here, you know, enjoy Quaker oats, but Quaker oats became one of my go-to breakfasts. And, you know, it's still one of my favorite breakfasts to date. And it's actually quite versatile. There are so many things that you could do with it. One, I mean, the normal thing we know how to do is to make it into, you know, into some oats, you know, mix it with milk or with water. And what I did to make it a bit more interesting is I had this recipe where you would chop bananas into it and put a spoon of peanut butter. Honestly, try that combination and you won't regret it. It was so delicious. Oats with peanut butter and with bananas. You know, you don't need sugar, you don't need anything else. And it was so delicious. And the good thing is that it keeps you full throughout the morning. The other thing I tried was, you know, using oats to make what we call sweet corn fritters. You blend your sweet corn with eggs and with the oats, and you just put it in a non-stick frying pan, you know, for breakfast. Delicious, and it meets all your, you know, your daily nutritional requirements for breakfast and doesn't have sugar in it. So I think the first thing really that I have to say this evening is, you know, and I know a lot of the things I will say this evening, that things that you probably have heard before, they bear, you know, reminding, is that be adventurous, be creative. Don't think, unless I've eaten, you know, bread, you know, this big agege bread this morning, I'm not full. Try other things, you know, be creative, be adventurous. There's a world of food out there just waiting to be, you know, to be explored. So go out there, look for recipes and say, okay, what else can I do? What else can I do to switch up my diet and change it without that sugar component? Thank you.
Amazing, amazing. I like the way you put it, saying that there is a world of food out there. That's interesting. I wonder how many of us take bread every morning. If you are here, and you take bread practically every morning, could you just put a wave in the chat box? I want to know whether we really do bread, because I think bread is one of the go-tos for most people. It seems to be very easy. But one thing I've realized is that bread is like more or less junk food, because the sauce, it's not whole grain. We're not getting whole grain breads, so I would rather go for a whole grain cereal, or whole grain oats. And I like that example you gave about oats. One thing I've discovered when I'm speaking with my clients or patients, there are some people who will like to cut down gradually. There are some people who prefer, it's like what we call an all or none, that if I can't have it, then it's better to go off it. You know, at least there are some people I took through coaching sessions, and they preferred to just be off sugar, maybe because they were already feeling ill and they were trying to control their blood pressure. They were having a lot of issues with their lifestyle. So some people will just want to go off it totally, you know, which is good if you can discipline yourself. You want to go off sugar, or you want to find other things that will make your food tastier, so that even if you're off sugar, which is highly refined, you don't feel like you're missing anything. And I think that's why we're having this discussion tonight. And I can already see some of the insights that Ore is sharing with us, about how you can make your food more delicious and tasty, even if you have to reduce sugar. Of course, sugar is not the only thing that makes our food unhealthy, but sugar in general, causes a lot of inflammation, and you find it in breakfast cereals, you find it in bread, you find them in cookies, you find them in cakes, in sweets, in chocolates. So these added sugars over time, when you take them day in, day out, the cumulative effect is inflammation. And a lot of people end up, with overweight, obesity, and it fosters many other problems, which we might not want to go into tonight. Let's focus on the positive things about, what we can derive from healthy eating. So I'm really glad to have you here tonight. Let me say welcome again to all followers of LCI, members of LCI Lifestyle Champions International. Thank you for joining us. My head girl from school way back in FGC is here. I'm so honored, Dr. Ebe. Thank you for joining us. We also have some LCI associates with us and members of the board of trustees. So glad to have you. I will still look in the box later to be able to recognize other people. So we're talking about ways to enjoy healthy eating. And we've had a good start here. Mrs. Orekolade, she's my twin sister, and she's a lifestyle champion. She has a BSc, she has a BSc in human nutrition, and also a master's in public health. And, she's sharing out of her experience, as well as expertise on how we can, make those choices healthy and enjoyable. Okay, so well, I want you to start dropping your questions in the chat box as we go along, but I'm going to ask Ore, I'm going to ask her to share with us a few tips, about how to keep eating enjoyable. How do we keep it enjoyable? I know you said something about oats, and you gave us a little recipe there, which maybe later you share on maybe our Telegram page for those who are interested and might want to go with it. But are there other ways, in which we could make healthy eating interesting, and not boring, and something that everyone is really interested in, and not quickly wanting to go back to their previous way of living?
Okay, thank you. So, the first thing that was my top tip actually is being adventurous and creative. Don't think because, oh, I've done it for so long, this formula has worked for me, let me just continue. Somebody very close to me recently had, a health diagnosis for diabetes. And what's interesting was before now, I've been saying, can you please, maybe replace these sugary cereals with other things. And he wasn't really too keen, But when this health diagnosis came along, I was so surprised that now this person's favorite breakfast is oats, something that this person would never eat before. I'm like, wow. So I think we should not wait for a health diagnosis, a medical diagnosis to force us to take healthy eating options. Let's try new things, Let's see, okay, what else, is out there that I can try that is healthy. The other thing I would say is moderation is key. Okay, like my sister mentioned earlier, sometimes it might require eliminating some things from your diet, but sometimes it's not that drastic. Sometimes it means just reducing. Moderation is key. Some of the key things that, are not healthy in our diets, they are oil, sugar, and salt. And now I know that I'm a Yoruba girl, and before, when you're cooking, traditional way of cooking stew at home, you will see the oil, floating on top of the pepper, as in, unless it has been fried very well, people will not say, this is not tasty enough, You will see egusi, you will see the oil there, and that's when people will say, this is very well cooked food. But that's not true. We don't need so much oil or so much, salt in our food. Moderation is very important. The other thing to mention is that oils are not bad, okay? What we have to think about is, number one, the quantity, like I mentioned, so moderation, but also the kind of oil we are using. So there are oils that are actually very good for us because they contain a lot of what we call polyunsaturated and monosaturated fats. The oils to avoid are those that contain a very high concentration of saturated fats. And one of those oils that contain a lot of saturated fats is palm oil. Now, I'm not knocking palm oil completely. Palm oil has its also good health benefits, but it needs to be used in moderation. The idea of, you must fry the egusi in plenty palm oil. It's not needed. You cook your egusi. When it's almost done, you just put a teaspoon of palm oil into it. You don't need a lot of oil, in our cooking. And that's one thing to mention. Frying, honestly, I know that we say, unless that croaker fish is fried properly, it's not delicious. We can avoid frying. We can put our food in. In fact, right now, I don't fry. The only thing I fry is plantain. I don't fry fish or beef or chicken or anything. It goes straight into the oven. Okay, chicken, the skin is removed. So I think that's another thing. Healthy food doesn't have to be doused in oil. A little is good for our health, but be careful about the amount of oil, the amount of sugar and salt you are using. And then talking about our 5-a-day, and use of vegetables, I think that it's really quite important. How about, instead of making I know we love our, solid, eba, big plate of eba, and then you have small egusi or this by the side with some meat. Why don't we flip it on its head? Why don't we make the, the vegetable, the main meal, and the pounded yam, the side meal, small by the side? So I think, that's another thing I wanted to mention about our 5-a-day. Let's focus on the vegetables, and then the carbohydrates is still important, but that be, by the side. And then maybe one more thing to mention, you can talk about other things, is that let's take time to savor and enjoy this food. One of the good things I believe that God has given us in life is food. And so when you are eating and see somebody is pursuing you as if they are going to take this food from you, sit down, no phones, no TV. I believe, was it earlier this year or last year, we learned, here, about mindfulness, putting all distractions aside and saying, okay, this is my food. Thank you, Lord, for this food is given to me, and taking the time to eat it slowly, savor it. And then when the food gets there, it has gotten there, I'm full. I don't need any more. Okay, I'll just wrap it up there for now.
Okay, Thank you so much for that. That was great. Great nuggets there, great insights. If I would summarize, you said we should be adventurous and creative with our food. We don't need to wait for a health diagnosis before we try making healthy food choices. We should be moderate about the choices we make. We might have to use oil, but it should be used in moderation, not dousing all our food in oil. You talked about our 5 a day, ensuring that we have enough fruits and vegetables daily, and then taking time to savor. I think I've missed out something. What did I miss out? Okay. I hope I have summarized it effectively. But I like what you said about egusi. Okay, yes, sugar, salt, oil. Yes, reducing sugar, salt, oil. That's being moderate as much as possible. So, when I shared this flyer on my school page, someone sent a message, like a shout out to say, I hope you're not going to tell us to stop eating egusi, you know. And some people actually think that egusi is not healthy. They think it has a lot of fats. But the interesting thing about egusi is that it is melon, it is protein, right? So instead of saying go off melon, because a lot of people get that instruction maybe from their dietitians or maybe from their doctors. The reason why we sometimes say go off egusi or melon is because of the way in which it's prepared, not because there's a problem in itself with melon. It's a seed. And one of the things that we usually emphasize for us to take seeds, nuts, fruits, veggies, legumes, plant-based meals, things that come from the ground, unrefined, almost straight from your farm to your kitchen or from the vegetable garden to the kitchen. So that's what we put emphasis on. But the way in which we prepare it is what alters, the content. And by the time you fry it, of course, you are going to increase the fat content by about 30% or more, depending on how much oil you have taken. So yes, many of these foods are fine until they go through a lot of processing.
Let me just add something there. I mean, so
okay.
Like you said, egusi, egusi gets a lot of flack because, like a lot of nuts, it contains, it has a high fat content, but it's also very proteinous, so it's very, it's very nutritious. So what I would suggest for egusi is, if you are making egusi, in terms of the portion again, come back to portion sizes, you don't it's not that you put plenty egusi and then you just put tiny vegetable inside. Allow your so the quantity of the vegetables you are chopping into it, maximize that and put a lot of vegetables into your egusi. Don't allow your egusi to overpower the vegetables. And so in that way you have a right sort of balance. You have the protein there, but you also have the vegetables there, and that adds a bit of more nutrition to the food you're eating.
Yeah, great. Thanks for that clarification. Okay, so I think we're already having some questions. You want to say something about the question in the chat box about brown bread or wheat bread?
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Catherine, for asking that question. Okay. So, I mean, personally, there are no foods that I say, to my, unless it directly, there are things like, they have very detrimental, health effects. Now, with bread, I would say avoid white bread. Now, brown bread, and this is one of the things that I started learning, from looking at, the on the packaging of food, paying more attention to the nutritional content of bread, of food generally. Sometimes you look at the information, and actually some of the things that are touted as brown bread, they're not really, whole meal. Okay, so when we say wholemeal, it means that it's the wheat that has not been, that has not been milled, and a lot of the, healthy, components of that, wheat taken off. So wheat is used to make bread, but many times the white bread, it has been milled, and the germ and some of those healthy components of the wheat have been taken off. So a lot of the times, even when you say something is brown bread and you look at the nutritional component, to find out that this is not really brown. There's so many kinds of brown bread out there. So what I would say is wholemeal bread is really good because it contains, the nutritional sort of the germ and all that is really good in the wheat has not been taken away. But you just have to be very careful when you are choosing whatever wholemeal bread you're buying, because some of the time it's very, very deceptive, and the labeling, unless you look at the labeling, you might get it wrong. And what I would suggest is that if you're having wholemeal bread, it's not, sometimes people just pack like 8 slices of wholemeal bread. Even that in itself is not helpful. 1, 2 slices, and couple it with a lot of, if you like to, if you eat eggs with a lot of vegetables, so again, don't make the bread the main meal. When I eat bread, 1 slice of bread with a lot of, eggs alongside with it, so that, because we do need carbs. I don't belong to the school of thought that thinks, you don't need any carbs at all, or I believe you need carbs, but, accompany it with a lot of protein and a lot of vegetables. Yes, I agree. You need to learn to read labels on everything, because there's so many things that when you look at the content and you look at the sugar content, the salt content, even things that they will say, oh, this has no sugar, be careful, because what they've done is in the factory, they're very smart. They know that, maybe there are a lot of health conscious people out there who are looking to reduce sugar intake. What do? They substitute that sugar with salt, or with other things, or with sweeteners. So you need to read that labeling very carefully.
Thank you very much. You said something about carbs, that you don't believe, in no carbs. I've noticed that people tend to want to follow that route of saying no carbs, let me just do protein, and let me do vegetables, let me do fruits. In fact, I saw someone, was it yesterday, who says that she's trying to lose weight and she's just doing fruits, and that for the past 2 weeks, she's hardly eating anything else but fruits. Of course, fruits also have some measure of carbohydrates, but you would also need some complex carbohydrates other than what comes from fruits, so that you can be energized, or you find out that you tire out very easily and you won't be able to sustain whatever diet you're trying out. If you're saying you're going on a no carb diet. Of course, when we say carbs, generally carbs, you can get them from different sources. Even your beans contains carbohydrates, even though we have some other foods that maybe are mainly carbohydrate, but we also have them come in different shades and sizes from other foods. So yes, carbohydrates are very important, but we must make sure that all the other nutrients that we need from other meals are also on our plate as well. And so most times these days, we don't even really talk about carbs per se, but we talk about whole food, whole grains, So you also look at your food plates. Maybe half of it is vegetables, maybe a quarter of it is your whole grain, and then another quarter you have some protein there. And in case you are wondering about eggs, the problem with eggs is when you fry them, but eggs are really good for us. They keep you fuller for longer. So far as they are not frying them, eggs are really, really good for you to take on a daily basis. Of course, if you have a health diagnosis and your doctor has told you something very specific about your moderation of egg intake, of course, you please do pay attention to that. Do we have any other questions coming up in the chat box? Any comments there? Let me see.
Let me just also add something to what you just said about being so, a sustainable, eating, making your eating sustainable, or healthy eating sustainable. A lot of times what I've come across is people on a lot of these fad diets. And what happens is that you can't sustain it. That sort of diet, you can't be on it for life. There will be a time when your body will say, no, I don't do. I'm not interested. And so you have to, we have to choose, eating habits that can be sustained. And so eliminating certain food groups from our diet is not sustainable. If you say, well, I'm not going to have any carbs, then God made carbs for us. But again, you have to eat them in moderation. That's really important. All the food groups are important. Your carbohydrates, protein, even the oil. We have, the good oils that are really important, for our health. Okay, yes. So yes, Catherine has talked about, frying the egg with olive oil. Absolutely. There are those oils that are good for us. Olive oil, rapeseed oil, the oils that are, very, have high concentration of polyunsaturated. But of course, it's not as if you now douse the egg in plenty of olive oil. Again, moderation is key. Moderation is key. So I think that every food group is important. And if we eliminate one, we're not doing ourselves any service. We need to include all of them. But again, think about, the quantities. Your oil, you don't need too much. Just enough, look at the and I will encourage you, like somebody mentioned earlier on, always look at the nutritional, components, even of the oil. Sometimes you don't need more than 1 teaspoon. When you're eating nuts, it's not as if you now carry 1 bottle of groundnut and say, they said nuts are healthy, and then you just start eating it. We don't need, there's not that much that we need, So, okay, I'll leave it there. Okay.
All right. As much as possible, frying is something we want to avoid. I know that frying makes our food tastier and more appealing, but even for some of these oils, they're not really supposed to be used for frying. Even when we're talking about extra virgin olive oil, they're supposed to be used for dressing and not really frying. So let's not think that we've gotten ourselves off the hook. If I can't use regular vegetable oil to fry, let me start using soya oil to fry. Even if it is soya oil, it is sunflower oil, what actually happens is that you change the chemical structure of that oil once you heat it up. So at the end of the day, you are not really doing yourself a favor. All right. So
let me just clarify a point on oils. Okay, so if you do the research on oils, there are some certain oils, like you have raised a really good point about, some certain oils are more amenable to high heat than others. Many oils are easily denatured by heat, and one of those oils is palm oil. For some reason, some people like it when, I don't know how they say it here, but in, Yoruba, they talk about angba ekpo, and that means you put the oil on the fire, and then the thing is, the smoking. I mean, honestly,
yeah, especially when they are making the stew or the sauce for this rice, or fada rice.
Yeah. You are completely, spoiling okay, yes, bleaching the oil. Thank you, Catherine. You are bleaching the oil, and that is terrible. That is bad. And that's the worst thing you can ever do to oil. So there are some oils that have a higher smoking point than others, and that are better, for frying, So One of those is rapeseed oil. I think another is canola oil I've seen there. Another good oil is avocado oil, even though it's not very, I don't think it's very common in Nigeria. The last time I said that avocados are also very good. Even though again, avocados, they get a lot of rap because they're also quite high in fat, but they are good they're high in the good kind of fat that that we need. But also again, they need to be taken in moderation. So there's a question about ogbono soup. Is it healthy?
I think it's the same thing like what you said about the egusi as well. I think it's the mode of preparation that really matters.
Yes. Again, yes. Ogbono is a seed as well. I mean, the good thing about Nigeria is that we have a lot of delicious and nutritious foods. But the bad thing is that when we now want to cook it, the way we cook it, sort of, unless there's plenty of oil, and you don't need a lot of oil in the ogbono, because the seed itself, just like a egusi, already generates quite a lot of oil in itself. You make your ogbono, you put a teaspoon of oil inside, and you're done. You don't need oil to be floating on top, before you can enjoy it. And the other thing I should mention is that sometimes we think, because I've done it for so long, my parents did this, my grandparents did it like this, if I start doing it differently. No, the fact that all of your ancestors have done it that way does not mean that you cannot break this thing and do it differently.
Jinx.
Yeah,
we have to break that jinx. And let's start making the healthy choices. I've had people tell me that my grandfather smoked till he was 80 and he didn't develop lung cancer. Nothing happened to him. But we never know what will happen to you or even your family members. If you're inhaling all the passive, smoke and all that. So really, it's good that we set, raise the bar, so that our children are also aware of all of this. And, we can begin to encourage them to make healthy choices from a very young age. One thing I discovered is that some of these very sweet, oily things, the flowery stuff that we're exposed to now, we never had them much as children. We had them once in a blue moon, but now it's like every day people go to Mr. Biggs, they go to, different, eateries out there, to get some of this stuff. And at the end of the day, we feel it doesn't count, but the cumulative effect over years is that you find out that half of the population or more has diabetes, hypertension, are obese, have heart disease, and so many things. And yet we feel that we are well, we feel we are healthy, but yet we're living with all these illnesses. So let's be intentional and let's get it right and teach our children to get it right. So we're rounding up gradually. Okay, so Dr. Elemile is also commenting on the fact that frying oil multiple times, using the same oil to fry is also bad. If we must fry, use a quantity of oil sufficient for use per time. Yes, you're very right about that. Sometimes we think we are saving the oil. We fry akara, and keep the oil somewhere, and we come back and use it again and again till we finish the oil. So as much as possible, we want to use less, of that. And I discovered that when you want to fry egg, you could even do this sunny side up. You don't really need much oil. You just oil the pan or something. Do a sunny side up instead of putting plenty of oil in the pan, and then pouring in the eggs and turning and turning and turning.
Let me give you that lovely recipe,
Okay.
For those of you that love whole wheat bread, just take a slice of whole wheat bread, boil an egg, get avocado, chop your avocado and your egg together, just chop it properly, sprinkle some black pepper on top, a little pinch of salt. It is delicious for breakfast. Just have that for breakfast and you'll be like, try it and then come back and tell me it's yummy.
All right, so you still share this for us, and maybe we'll send it out in our next newsletter, the last one for the year, we'll send out a little summary and some of these recipes so that people can get it in their emails. Thank you so much. Do we have any other questions? We're rounding up gradually. Do you want to raise your hand and make any comments for those of us in the room?
Oh, yes, I agree with you, Catherine. You're my testing.
Okay, I can see a message. Okay. Oh, okay, yes. Okay, this is a private message. Someone's saying, great to see you, twins. Thanks, Ma. That's my Oga here, Dr. Ifeoma Fagbemi. Thanks for joining us, Ma.
And then we have a question from my sister-in-law.
Okay, let me see.
Mrs. Owolabi.
Okay, I'm trying to open the chat again. Even avocado and bread. Okay. Okay, I've missed that question. I can't see it. Okay,
no, she's raising her hand.
Oh,
she's
raising her hand. Oh, all right. Please unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself, Mrs. Owolabi, and speak to us. Mrs. Owolabi shared her story with us. That was in was that October? She shared her personal lifestyle experience, her journey, to health, and it was quite interesting. We still have it there on our YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us tonight, Ma. Please unmute yourself and speak.
Good evening, all. Thank you very much, Super Coach. And our guest this evening, we appreciate all that you've taught us. But, this is just an observation. I just want to find out, some of us that, I'm not going to say addiction, but we just love to eat amala maybe because of our background. And I think the other time when our super coach was telling us, Dr. Ori, she did mention that amala is not, she explained the reason why if you take a Lobson amala, I've been trying to reduce the amount of amala, but then it's not too easy, I must confess. But now that we have another champion in the house as our guests, so how do you go about that? For some of us that just want to eat, I've been trying to see whether I can just substitute some other things for my lunch. But honestly speaking, because over time, I really just take off my supper. If I'm hungry at night, I take fruits basically. But because I don't want to, I'm not going to take supper, and I don't know, amala, my super coach is saying that we should reduce it. It's not been easy. So I don't know how I can go into that adventure and be a bit creative. I don't know how I'll do that. I will appreciate if you can tell me what to do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ma. Amala.
So please go ahead and hit it on the
Well, in my household as well, the interesting thing is that my sister-in-law actually is the person that just spoke. That's my husband's sister. I am his elder sister. So I understand the amala thing, So I mean, and I know that different people have different, schools of thought on this. Like I said before, I don't believe, unless there is something that is expressly detrimental, with that food item, I don't think, I for one, I hardly eat amala. I don't eat a lot of, like okele food, but I enjoy my poundo yam. I'm from Ondo State. I think that with amala, the key again is the quantity. When you look into sort of the nutritional components of these things, and I would encourage us, to be a bit more because food goes into our body, we need to be a bit more intentional about what goes into our body and to do a bit more research. And not just to treat it as, okay, it's just food. It's not just food. You know, look at the nutritional components of what you are consuming. So for instance, amala, go online, see actually what is the nutritional component of amala. If I consume 100 grams of amala, how much, also available, how much amala does it make me? And what actually is the nutritional component, of what I'm consuming? A lot of the times, you don't really need a huge, massive amount of amala. A small portion, with plenty of, vegetables to go along with it. I think it's fine. So, sister, I know you love your amala, and I will not discourage you from eating amala, but I think the important thing is if you want to eat it, in fact, I don't know if you can, my screen is not, the amount that you take, it doesn't even need to be up to, a closed fist. Just a bit of it, a bit of amala, and put plenty of vegetables to go along with it. You still get your, effects of, you eat your amala, but, with plenty of vegetables that are beneficial to go alongside with it. It's like chocolate. I know some people here don't, they don't crucify me, but I love chocolate. But what I've tried to focus on now is, okay, if I want to eat chocolate, there's some chocolates that are better than others, and dark chocolates have actually been shown to have, some health benefits, dark chocolate. And so it's about saying, okay, what's the quantity of that dark chocolate? Looking at the nutritional, what's the, what's the percentage of cocoa? Anything with 70% cocoa and above, has been shown, to be good for health. And then it's not as if you now pack one big box of the dark chocolate. Say, since they said dark chocolate is good, I just pack a whole box and consume. And I think that's the thing about, where everything in moderation, the fact that something has been shown to be good, we have a lot of good things, even fruits. You can overdo fruits. The fact they say, 580 doesn't mean you carry a whole bunch of bananas, and then you carry a whole thing of a tangerine and a whole thing of apple, and you just put it in front of you and say, they say fruits are good for us. Even that, is not healthy. Everything has to be in moderation. Even your fruit, you don't need more than one banana, more than one, even when I was doing some research, when you talk about 5 a day, the focus really is on the vegetables and not, it's fruit and vegetables. So what we tend to do is to eat more of the fruit that has a lot of sugar and fructose, because actually the fructose also converts, to sugar in our body. Fructose is a source of sugar. And that's why, people discourage also a lot of, you just say, blend. I mean, smoothies are good, but again, it's not about putting together, plenty and plenty of fruit, and then you say you're having 3 smoothies a day. Moderation is really, really important. And look at the calorie content of what you are eating. For us women, for instance, we don't actually need that much. And the older we grow, the less we need. Which means that if you are eating at the same level, when I was in University of Ibadan and I was running around from lecture to lecture, going from all those places, and I'm eating the same thing I was eating then as I'm eating now, definitely I'm going to put on weight because, metabolism slows down. And so we just need to be careful of, take that moderation into consideration. I think you're still on mute, sorry. Sorry, I think I've overtalked.
Well, I think that's a wonderful way to round it off.
We still have a question from Catherine and one from Sasha Detu.
Okay, so that question, if amala is not better than semo, considering the refined nature of the latter, yes, the two of them are refined. It's just that amala, goes through a more localized form of processing compared to semo, which is coming from wheat, and it goes through the mill. I'm sure a lot of the fiber gets off it. Same thing for amala, really, when you consider it, because it's yam, but for yam, it's even, you use more of the, sometimes you use the peel, sometimes you use the what do we call it now? What amala comes from? I think it's from cassava, isn't it?
No, amala,
Right?
amala is yam, gari is cassava.
Oh, sorry, it's from yam. Yes. So the thing about yam is that even the caloric content of yam, or the glycemic, index of yam is much lower, when you compare it to some other food. So at the end of the day, just like you said, it's just quantity. But I know someone who was taking semo every night until she discovered that her blood sugar was high. Before she went to sleep, she would take semo, and she would eat it very well, land it before going to sleep. Then she discovered her blood sugar was high. Of course, that was one of the things that she needed to begin to watch out for. She needed to stop taking semo at night. So you want to avoid taking such refined, swallows at night, because they are going straight to bed, no exercise. Of course, your body is going to store it as fats and you will metabolize it. So as much as possible, whatever it is, just a little quantity, not more than your fist size, or even half your fist if you are trying to lose weight or trying to discipline yourself. When you are eating mindfully, at the end of the day, you fill up faster. You're drinking a lot of water at the same time. You're enjoying it. You're not on your phone. You're not chatting. You're not watching TV. Your body is going to recognize the cues it needs to recognize to tell you when you're full, so you don't want to take more.
Sorry, we have one final question from Catherine.
Okay, yes, please. Dr. Egbe, please, you're on.
Hi, hi everyone. Good evening. Thanks very much, Ore, for the very practical and interesting talk, and Ore for organizing. I just have this question because sometimes I feel that we tend to eat more of the carbs because we want to get full. So we are trying to let's say, for example, you have a very busy day, you just want to have the energy to really move around and not, really be disturbed about, hunger or whatever. So the question is, what would you advise should be a go-to meal to get full so that you don't end up eating too much, or something that can just hold you, just to keep your system functioning without you having these hunger pangs, because, most of these other foods, that the vegetables and the fruits, they are quite light. And if you are a Nigerian, we tend to eat a lot of a massive amount of food to be able to sustain ourselves. And once you get used to eating that much, it becomes difficult when you want to transition to a healthy diet, because now you're not supposed to be eating that quantity that you are used to, especially with the carbs.
Thanks for that question. So, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, I have not been a huge fan, of, like the heavy carbs like amala and all of those. And my sisters know me that I can very easily go for a month without eating any poundo or amala or any of those semo and any of those things. So what some of my go-to meals, for instance, there are other things that we can. So sweet potato is good. I know that it's a bit of an underrated meal, but we have a lot of sweet potatoes in Nigeria. Boiled or baked are good. With some stir fry. Stir fry made with a bit of eggs. That's good. Even boiled potatoes too, boiled potatoes, or roasted potatoes, they work well. I eat a lot of baked potatoes. So baked potatoes with a bit of, it depends on, I could eat it with some cheese or some beans, or make a bit of bolognese, that's some, ground beef, and add some, some vegetables into it. And then I don't know if wraps are very, common in Nigeria, but again, maybe that's something that a cafe might have access to, whole meal wraps where you can put, you know, a lot of, you know, vegetables, chicken, and you wrap it, you know, and you know, you can have that. Brown rice, you know, you know, there's a recipe that I also have, you know, which is, you know, some sort of curry, you know, where it's packed with vegetables and eaten with brown rice as well. So, I mean, there are lots of, you know, other options there that include, you know, the important food, all the important food groups. You know, you still have your carbs, not in a, you know, in a very, you know, like huge, you know, bowl of apple or anything, but something that will go well with, you know, either protein, you know, or the vegetables that you are eating, and that will also keep you full. And there are the other things also. I mean, people think of them as, because they are making, because there's been emphasis more in recent times, you know, things like quinoa, you know, some of these whole grain things that, you know, might not be as common in Nigeria, but there are also a lot of, you know, quite, you know, good, you know, and healthy grains that we can also, you know, insert into our diet. Sorry, am I frozen? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Thank you.
Perfectly, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so I think we're going to need to round up shortly. In fact, right about now, even though I can see there is another message there. What is the effect of skipping meals or eating at irregular intervals on the well-being of an individual? Not too good, because our body has a memory, and you teach it what you do to your body. You know, whatever you feed your body with, or whatever you do with your body has a memory and will remember. So if you eat little meals, you know, at regular intervals every day, that's good for you. But especially for people that are diabetic, very, very important. It's one of the ways in which you can optimize your glycemic control, that's your blood sugar levels, by taking small meals regularly, you know, at about the same time every day. So let's avoid skipping meals. Well, of course, if you're going on a fast and you're praying and all that, of course, that's also important. Sometimes we do intermittent fasting, and I think Ori has shared something about that, you know, about how she adopted that and she was able to lose weight. I think she lost over 10 kg, you know, with intermittent fasting and a few other things, you know, that she's talked about tonight. But this is where we have to call it a night. And I want to really thank everyone for being here. We can carry over whatever questions we have to our challenge room. You know, we have a challenge group or Telegram, and we can answer them there. And of course, we'll send you updates, you know, on our newsletter for the month. I want to say thank you once again. Thank you to Dr. Ifeoma Fagbemi. She's one of the board of trustees from the Society of Lifestyle Medicine of Nigeria, and she's been with us throughout this discussion. We also have several members who are LCI associates, and all our members and followers. Thank you so much for being here. I want to say thank you to my husband for ensuring that this meeting started right on time. And thank you for staying with us. This is LCI, where we choose life. And I want to say thank you once again to my dear twin sister, Ore Kolade, for being with us. Please let's give her a shout out before we log off. Please say thank you to her.
Thank you everyone.
Okay, let me see if I can get the Telegram link before logging off. Okay, trying to see if I can pick this out.
I mean, while Ore is looking for the link, let me just say one more thing. is that, if you are, on a journey like me, and, you have a, you sort of stumble along the way, and you do, and then when you have a bad day where you've eaten something, you think, I shouldn't have done that. Don't worry about it. It's fine. We all have these moments these days when you feel, today I'm not interested in this. I just want to eat something that it's fine. It's fine. Give yourself, don't say, don't beat yourself up. Just dust yourself and get back on track again. We can do this thing, and we're not perfect human beings, but we just need to continue to, make the efforts. And, it's a journey. And that's why it's a journey. That's why it's not a destination. We continue to, to make progress every day.
All right, then. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Lifestyle Champions. So this is our last meeting for the year. We'll be sending you updates in your email, and we can chat online as well. So have a wonderful Christmas.
I think he's already frozen.
Was muted. I didn't realize. Thank you to everyone. Can we hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I was just saying Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year in advance to every one of us. Have a jolly good Christmas. Make healthy choices. Please avoid refined drinks, during this season. Go with your water everywhere. Where you go, and you see, I drank water. It's possible.
Oh, I think Ifeoma Mora, is she here? Is that what you're saying, Catherine?
Yes, she's the one there.
Okay. All right, so it's not, I think it's Ifeoma Mora is here.
Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry.
And Tessie Gabo as well.
Great.
You're welcome.
Great.
Thanks for joining us, Ifeoma, Tessie.
Tessie. Oh, wow. I'm so glad to see